This conference will
Just
now
for
be recorded.
just for introductions, we generally start meetings by everybody introducing themselves. My name's Timothy Dixon. I am the attorney for the environmental board. So that's my role in this, and I'll try to help facilitate this. So everybody else on the screen, give your name and what your position is or what your role in this hearing is.
Okay, well, we're Kim and Tom Shaw.
Kim Shaw.
And we're just, I don't know what else to say.
Jim Allman. I'm Assistant County Attorney on behalf of the Department of Land Use, and Tom Devilbus.
Yeah, I'm Tom Delvis. I'm the Director of Land Use Planning and Development at the county.
I'm Frank Vleck. I'm Chair of the Environmental Advisory Council.
I'm Craig Paskowski. I'm Vice Chair of the Environmental Advisory Council.
And I'm Tiffany Vanderwerker, and I'm a member of the Carroll County Environmental Advisory Council.
Okay, now the way the hearing is going to proceed is that the Shaws, you're the appellants in the case. You're appealing a decision of county officials. So you're going to present your case first, and that's going to be followed by the presentation of the case of the Bureau of Resource Management. You can put any witnesses, any testimony you have on Mr. and Mrs. Shaw, and then the board will have a chance, the board and the board's attorney will have a chance to ask you questions. And then the board will put on its case, or the Bureau of Resource Management will put on its case, and you'll have a chance to ask questions of those witnesses.
Okay.
Anybody have any questions?
No.
So that's how we're going to proceed.
Okay.
All the witnesses are going to be sworn in by Joe Vance. So if you plan on being a witness, you can take the oath and be sworn in at this point.
Okay.
If witness, please raise your right hand.
All of us?
Whoever's going to testify in any way, yeah.
Okay.
Okay, do you swear or affirm under the penalties of perjury that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, we do.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. So should I start then, or?
Yes, Mr. and Mrs. Shaw, you put on your case. Anything you want the board to consider, you put that on now.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. So we'll just start off, just say hello to everyone. We really appreciate you all attending this meeting. Thank you for being here this afternoon. And I'd like to also thank Tom Devilbus, because you have helped us to this point, and we appreciate it. We're a little out of our comfort zone, so please bear with us. This is not something we're used to. We just wanted to start off by saying that we're all for preserving the environment. We care about the environment. We don't feel like today this is what that's about, though. This is about our family, and we're experiencing some pretty unimaginable financial problems right now. And we're just trying to get some relief from, as far as conservation, that we feel that with this variance that we feel we qualify for. What we have here on our lot, it's a 14.5 acre lot. We're taking off a 3.5 acre lot, which the lot adjoins our house here. It's right next to our lot. It's right out back here, which we live on. This has been a long stressful journey, subdividing this one lot from our property. Selling this one lot is our only hope of getting back on our feet. We've overcome many obstacles, but we're finally at the finish line, except for this as far as conservation. We have received approval from every other developed department. from the county, and it's actually been a very smooth journey. It's just been stressful for us.
Time consuming, but smooth.
Yeah, I mean, the county's been awesome working with us. Anytime we wanted a meeting, we got it. And I have nothing but nice things to say about Carroll County helping us get to this point. We have studied and researched forest conservation and do believe that preserving the environment is important. But we think that there are rare cases when an exception should be made. There is a variance available, and we strongly feel that we qualify for it. We are here today to again request a legal variance from forest conservation. We are asking for relief from 20% forest, afforestation per the technical requirement included in section 150.27A of the Code of Public Local Laws and Ordinances of Carroll County. There's nowhere in this code that we see where it says full mitigation, the full 20% can't be granted. The variance, this one.
Yeah, this is just the main variance.
Well, the main variance states the county may grant a variance from any of the technical requirements included in the subchapter of the, if there are exceptional circumstances. Our request is based on section 150.33A1, which says strict adherence to provisions of the subchapter could result in unnecessary hardship or environmental degradation. I've had ongoing serious health problems for several years, which led to open heart surgery 2 years ago. We are trying our best to maintain, but unfortunately, we've had to spend all our retirement and savings to get to this point. And this is one of the reasons why we decided to divide off and sell the 3.5 acre lot. Until we get this resolved, we can't list the lot for sale. And we feel like we've already missed the prime selling season. We just, we've also had extremely exceptional circumstances with access to our property, which has also caused undue hardship and has taken us some time to correct. Due to the unreasonable placement of the only approved access to our property, it was impossible to build a road to our lot. If we could have built a road to the lot, we wouldn't be going through all this because it probably would have been sold. That was the problem. A lot of anybody who came and looked at it, as soon as they saw they had to build this road, it was impossible to build the road. Get a picture of the road. To access, the access was centered over a running stream with a culvert and guardrail blocking the main road. And we spent a lot of time trying to get this worked out, which we finally did get it worked out with the county and the state. Do you want to hold that up?
This is a picture of where the access
Was.
is. Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't know how really important that is, but that's.
Well, we overcame that.
Yeah. We had several potential buyers, but no one wanted to deal with this. We finally convinced the state and county to evaluate the situation. They concluded that it was nearly impossible to construct a road through this parcel and granted us access onto Route 97, from Route 97. We know this doesn't relate to forest conservation, but is important as part of our hardship and why our situation is unique. Because of our financial hardship, along with problems caused by access to the property, we passionately believe that our variance should be approved. The cost of planting trees, whether on or off site, is impossible for us to afford. This lot, the 14.5 acre lot, it's already a buildable lot. It's, as Clay said many times, all you would need to do is get a building permit and you can build a house on that lot. It was already a buildable, finished lot. So we don't want this house. Our property is already exceedingly environmentally friendly with over 1,000 trees. And we have lots of wildlife running through these trees. Trees go all the way around the whole property. We also have a pond and a stream, which we think are compensating factors for planting more trees, which really wouldn't benefit anybody. The lots are, where's that? Show you a picture of the lots. So we're only taking off a 3.5 acre lot. And we haven't taken down, and we won't take down any trees at all. So it really does make no sense to put any trees on this lot. Not only will it devalue our property, but it benefits everyone.
I don't know if they can see this. This is,
These are the two lots right here. This is the 3.5 acre lot that we're taking off. And this is the remaining 10 acres. Here's the pond. So this is all open. And I'll hold that up again.
I think you're gonna need to put the picture closer to the camera so everybody can see it.
this
Okay.
one.
Yes, put it closer to the camera so the board can see it.
Is it facing the right way?
I don't know.
Where is the pond in relationship in that map there, if you could point that out?
Okay, everything's backwards.
Okay,
Here's the pond. This is the lot
the
that
3 acre
we're
lot.
taking off, which comes in from Old Washington Road, right in here. So it's an all open lot, and to put trees either here or here would really devalue and make it less desirable. And we've already run into that a couple times with people looking at it. Nobody wants, people who are buying these lots want, oh,
This help?
yeah. People who are buying these lots want, either for animals or for growing things. It's just, again, we have over 1,000 trees already on the lot, and we feel like that is definitely compensating factors along with the pond. And so, you want to read this one? Go ahead.
We lived here for over 30 years and we raised our family here. And right now we're behind on our mortgage payments and our house needs a lot of work and we're facing possible foreclosure. So we're in dire financial, our situation's really dire now. And we already said selling this one lot's our only hope to get us back on our feet. And we're just pleading that you review our case, and it just makes common sense and we feel like legal sense, and we don't have the money to plant the trees right now. And, we really need to sell our lot.
Yeah, I mean, we did offer to, after we do sell our lot, we would make a $5,000 donation to any Carroll County Food Sunday or any other mission or whatever to, I know that, that doesn't have anything to do with forest conservation, but we're willing. It's just a good faith thing to show that, we're not trying to get out. We're not trying to get it over on anybody with anything. We're not, we really just want to get this done as soon as possible. And so, we're willing to make a donate, or if there's a forest conservation
Fund
or something, we would even raise it up a little bit if we needed to. above the
We just
5,000.
don't have the money now to pay for the trees.
And we don't want the, the lot being devalued or make it less appealing to anybody. So that's pretty much, everything we have to say. Again, we had nothing but good experience with Carroll County. We're not here to complain or anything like that. We just want to get this finished and done and move on, so we can enjoy our grandkids. We have 5 grandkids. We have, we're family people. We just want to move on. We're not trying to make a ton of money here. We just need to catch up and move on. That's really all we're trying to do. So that's pretty much all I have to say at this point.
All right, the board will now hear questions from the Land Resource Management. If you have any questions for the Shaws.
We have no questions.
Tim, I just want to announce myself. This is John Bowman. I'm shown as I had some technical problems. I'm caller 1 now, so I'm on this meeting.
Oh, thank you, John.
All right, board members, do you have any questions for the Shaws?
I have several here. If you guys don't mind me starting. I'll throw them all out there. If you need me to repeat, that'll be fine. Currently, how is your land zoned now?
It's zone conservation and taxed agriculturally.
And the road that you would, I guess, propose to get to this lot, where would it be coming off of? I'm a little confused. I pretty much think I know from your track there where the 3.5 acre parcel is. Where would the necessary road need to come in from?
Well, it's coming in off of Old Washington Road. And that's all finished. I mean, that's all been approved and
Yeah.
that's all finished, everything's finished except for this, as far as conservation issue. Yeah, you can see up top, right at the top of the screen where it says Firefly.
Okay, yes.
Yes,
Yeah.
right there.
From 97.
From 97,
Yeah.
yeah.
And then the proposed lot would be where that would be all the way at the end of Firefly, is that correct?
Yeah, if you raise this up again a little bit, the other way, sorry. It's where all these dots are on the right-hand side. That's the 3.5 acre lot, 3.75
Okay.
acre lot. Right.
How is your 14 acres now being presently used? Is it being actively farmed?
Yeah, I use it for my animals, my horses, my goats. And it's pasture right now. I have a barn down there, running shed. It's more like a farmette.
Okay. I think that's all the questions I have at present. Greg and Tiffany, I'll let you guys go.
When you guys looked into how much this would cost you to reach that 20% threshold, what kind of figures did you encounter there?
Well, if we bought it at a bank off-site, $50,000. If we did it here, we've gotten a couple different figures. Like 30,000 was one figure we got.
It wouldn't connect. It connected to the meeting, but I couldn't.
I don't know who that was.
30,000.
30,000.
You also said you I guess we're looking at, you've been working with the county for some years, and I guess this other development, when that went with the idea of getting access to the lot and subdividing at that time.
Yeah,
I guess my question is, how long have you been in the planning process of subdividing that lot?
well, we did have a contract on it. It'll be 2 years in December, and the person was just going to divide it right in half like we're doing. And when he found out, and he gave me the contract non-contingent, and we didn't even, at that point, we didn't even know anything about forest conservation either. I had no idea about forest conservation. So once he got into it and had it for almost a year, he realized that he had to put forest conservation, and he backed out. So yeah, so at that point we decided, we could have done 3 lots. But we decided just to do 2 lots, just like this previous guy wanted to do, because we live here and we felt like it would be doing more of environmental damage by having 3 lots rather than just 2 nice lots. So, that's why we only did 2 lots. We definitely could have made more money by doing 3 lots, but we just felt like it would be a lot quicker and simpler just to do 2 lots. I thought it was, and it did go pretty quick once we got the everything into the county, the plans. So I just think having 3 lots would have, the neighbors would have probably been a little more upset, having 3 lots. And we just
About
felt
when did we start it? That was
about a year ago, I think.
a year and a half, 2 years.
Well, 2 years was when he did it.
Okay.
When we started it, after he got out, it was about a year ago, maybe somewhere around in there.
And when did you encounter the health issues and the financial issues?
That's been going on for a while. But it came to a head like 2 years ago when we decided to sell it. Just to had the surgery. Yeah,
2 years.
2 years.
So your motivation for subdividing is your health issues and finance?
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. We hate to sell it. I really do, but I feel like that's our only chance to
Catch up.
to move on.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
So I have one question. You said the lot that you are subdividing, the smaller lot, has been approved, obviously, pending this decision.
Yeah.
Have you had any perk tests done or any testing for septic?
Yeah, that's all finished.
Okay.
Everything's finished. It's ready to go.
Okay. Yeah, I don't have any other questions. Thank you.
Thank you.
The board members have any further questions?
Mr. Dixon, are we allowed to ask questions of members of the Bureau of Resource Management regarding this?
Yes, they're going to be presenting their case at the conclusion of the Shaw's case. So it looks like that's the end of the Shaw's case. So now Land Resource Management, they're going to present their case now. And the Shaws and the board members will be able to ask questions about their case.
Do I need to swear John in, John Bowman?
Yes.
John, I'm trusting you're raising your right hand.
I am.
Do you swear or affirm under the penalties of perjury that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
Okay, Tim, can I go now?
Yes, go ahead and present the case.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman and members of the board. My name is James Allman. I'm an assistant county attorney on behalf of the Department of Land Use Management and Mr. Tom Devilbiss. Mr. Devilbiss and I appear before you today regarding an appeal of a decision of a forest conservation variance request V-FC-20-016. And that is the scope of this hearing. This hearing has nothing to do with any access roads. It has to do with the appeal of the forest conservation variance. So just to provide a little bit of background, the Shaws own a property located at 6176 Landing Drive, Sykesville, Maryland. The property, as the Shaws said, is 14.5 acres, zone conservation. The property is improved with a horse pasture, barn, stable, and fencing. And the Shaws are seeking to subdivide their property into 2 residential lots. Lot 1, which would be 3.75 acres, and Lot 2, which would be 10 acres. The plan would result in disturbance of approximately 96,595 square feet, or 2.2 acres. Due to the proposed disturbance exceeding 40,000 square feet, the Carroll County Forest Conservation Ordinance applies to the proposed subdivision. Therefore, a forest stand delineation forest conservation plan is required. Section 150-27A1 of the Forest Conservation Ordinance provides that the minimum forest threshold for any zone shall be 20%. Any tract net area which is comprised of less than the minimum threshold shall be afforested to achieve the minimum threshold. So therefore, for this property, the amount of forestation is calculated at 20% of the net tract area, which is in the conservation zones defined as the total area of the property. Applying this formula to the Shaws property of 14.5 acres, multiply that by 20%, that comes out to 2.9 acres for forestation under the code. The Shaws are seeking a variance from this 20% forestation requirement. When the Shaws first applied for a variance from this requirement, they did so under section 150-33A1. Strict adherence of the code could result in unnecessary hardship or environmental degradation. In that first request, the Shaws did not offer any proposals to meet the afforestation requirements in the ordinance. The Shaws then applied for a second amended variance application where they sought relief from the same section of the code, requesting that the afforestation minimum threshold be reduced to 7% rather than the required 20% in the code, which this would work out to about 1 acre of forestation at that 7% calculation. The Shaws contend that requirement to plant trees to take away from the property's current aesthetic and keeping the area open. They further contend that due to ongoing health complications, they have financial difficulties and cannot strictly adhere to the requirements of the code. This request that the forest threshold should be reduced to 7% again would result in 1 acre of mitigation. A county staff report on the requested variance recommended that the director of the Department of Land Use Management disapprove the second amended variance. The staff report argued that the Shaws' aesthetic argument and the financial arguments are problematic. Regarding the aesthetic argument, the report provides that county analysis of the proposed plan finds 1.5 acres of afforestation that can be planted on the larger lot, that's lot 2, the 10-acre lot, with no encroachment on the fenced pasture area. Such planting would also not encumber the smaller lot 1, and would leave 6 acres of the larger lot 2, open. Regarding the financial argument, the report provides that the Shaws, while we sympathize with the Shaws in their situation, the Shaws continue to reject cost-saving measures of planting a portion of the afforestation on site purely on aesthetic grounds. And the Shaws also have the option of selling the property as a single lot thus avoiding the applicability of the Forest Conservation Ordinance, or they could subdivide their property into 3 lots, which might increase the revenue they could realize from any sale. While we do understand and sympathize with the Shaw's situation, the director was willing to work toward a compromise with the Shaws and approve their second variance with conditions. Those conditions being that 1.5 acres of on-site afforestation be required, and that the variance approval should be considered non-transferable. In a letter to the Shaws on August 5th, 2020, the director wrote that this condition is being placed on the approval based on the relief, which is to be granted 1.5 acres due to the overwhelming distress related to health and financial conditions of the Shaws. The Shaws are still not satisfied with the 1.5 acre afforestation requirement, so they appealed to this board. The director is respectfully requesting that you uphold his decision that the 1.5 acres shall be afforested on site and upheld. And I want to thank you and call Mr. Tom Devilbus. Okay, Mr. Devilbus, can you please state your name for the board?
Thomas Scott Devilbus.
And what is your title with the county?
I'm Director of Land and Resource Management with the county.
And how long have you been in this position?
Approximately 5 years.
Okay. And what are your job responsibilities as director?
Within the department, there are the functions of Bureau of Resource Management, which all the review functions in our environmental compliance fall under. We have zoning, development review, ag land preservation, and geographic information systems functions.
Are you familiar with the Carroll County Forest Conservation Ordinance?
Yes, I am.
Okay. And in your position as director of the Department of Land and Resource Management, have you dealt with forest conservation variances?
That is correct. As my role as director, I handle all the variance requests through the environmental codes that come through the department.
And are you familiar with the applications for the forest variance, the forest conservation variance from Thomas and Kimberly Shaw?
Yes, I am.
Chris, did you get my exhibits?
I have them.
The Shaw's variance application into the record and into evidence. No, this is the application for variance. That's the county staff report. Yes, thank you. So the application for their property, Tom, was for 6176 Landing Drive. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct.
And what are the Shaws proposing to do with their property?
They're proposing a 2-lot subdivision.
Okay. And lot 1 is 3.75 acres and lot 2 is approximately 10 acres?
Yeah, I think it's 10.69 acres, the second one, that's correct.
And why are the Shaws seeking a forest conservation variance?
Initially, it was for complete relief from the afforestation requirement of the Forest Conservation Act. The second, which was the amended request, was to reduce that down or add to that, excuse me, up to 7%, which was the 1 acre.
And can you just explain what afforestation is?
It is the replacement of trees on a property. So let me read the definition of it, because I think it's important for everybody to understand what that definition is. It's the establishment of forest on an area from which forest cover has been absent for a long period of time, or planting of open areas which are not presently in forest cover. That is within our code definition and the state code definition.
And is afforestation a priority in Carroll County?
Yes, both by practice and by law.
And the county forest conservation ordinance afforestation threshold is 20% of the net tract area. Is that correct?
That is correct. In this specific situation, that is correct.
And the Shaw's total property being 14.5 acres, 20% of that would be 2.9 acres if they strictly adhere to the 20%.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. So their original application for a variance was denied, correct?
Correct.
And what was the reason for that denial?
Because they did not want to do any afforestation whatsoever on the property.
Okay. And then the Shaws filed a second amended variance request, correct?
That is correct.
And in their second variance application, the Shaws proposed to provide a portion of the required afforestation.
That's correct.
What were the Shaws proposing?
They were proposing, which would amount to 7% of the 20%, which again was the 1 acre, equivalent to about 1 acre.
I would like to introduce into evidence now a county staff report dated July 31st, 2020, which was drafted regarding this variance request. Now, in that report, did the staff identify any acres which would meet the basic intent of the afforestation requirement for on-site planting of trees?
Yes, they specifically said a county analysis of the proposed plan finds that at least 1.5 acres of the afforestation can be planted on the larger lot, which is number 2, with no encroachment in the fenced pasture area.
And the report found that the planting would still leave 6 acres of the lot open, correct?
That is correct.
What was the ultimate recommendation of that report?
The recommendation was to disapprove the variance.
But you approved the variance request with conditions, however.
That's correct.
What were those conditions?
The condition was that the proposed 1 acre would be expanded to 1.5 acres, and that also the request would be non-transferable.
Right. And while making your determination, did you consider the Shaw's financial hardships?
Yes, I did.
And in the consideration of those financial hardships, were the conditions, I guess, the basis for their financial hardship?
Yes. There were 2 things that were considered in my final decision. The first was that per our code, the priority for the planting of afforestation is to be in sensitive areas. That is one of the number 1 priorities. And the area that was designated by the staff, the 1.5 acres, was considered by them to be of sensitive nature because it included the pond and other areas adjacent to the pond. So the 1.5 acres did meet the criteria for a priority planting of afforestation on a property. The second consideration I then considered was the fact of their economic hardship. Thus why I restricted it or kept it just to the 1.5 acres and did not require them to do any part of banking or off-site planting, which would be more expensive than on-site planting.
So you're willing to grant a variance at 1.5 acres of mitigation rather than the 2.9 acres, which would be required under a strict adherence with the code?
That is what my August 5th, 2020 determination was. That's correct.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Devilvis. That's all I have at this time for this witness, Mr. Chairman.
Do the Shaws, do you have any questions for Mr. Devilvis based on his testimony?
Unmute your phone again, please.
Okay, you hear me?
Thank you.
Okay. How was it determined that this 1.5 acres was suitable to plant 1.5 acres? I mean, who came down here and took a look at that and said that, this will be suitable?
That was done by county staff.
Somebody came down and actually looked at the lot?
I cannot verify that they actually came because I did not actually do that analysis. That is what their staff report identified.
So I don't know how they could have done that without coming down. And I did invite you a couple times to come down and please take a look at the lot so I can show you, to put an acre and a half over on the other side of the pond there. I mean, it just, go ahead.
It'll be impossible.
Yeah, it's just not, first of all, we don't, it's, the financial hardship is still going to be there. And are we just putting trees there just to put trees there? I mean, it's not benefiting anybody. That's what I'm trying to, to show. I mean,
No, sir, we're not putting trees there just to put trees there. First, we're putting trees there to comply with the state and local Forest Conservation Act. That's the first purpose. The second purpose is that both the state and Carroll County Forest Conservation Act identify areas immediately adjacent to water bodies as priority areas, sensitive areas for the plantings of these natures. So no, it's not just to plant trees.
but you don't know if anybody came down and took a look at this situation. You're not sure.
I cannot answer that directly, no.
I mean, the variance states, where is it? I don't know where it is. What's the variance? Can you point it out? So it says, strict adherence to the provisions of the subchapter could result in unnecessary hardship or environmental degradation. The variance we're asking for is a variance from that particular technical requirement. I mean, that's, and we have a whole host of reasons why, we've already went over several of them. And that particular technical requirement is the 20%, and that's the technical requirement we're asking a variance for. So,
and you received a variance or relief from me from that 20%.
and I appreciate that, but what we're asking for is a relief from the 20%, which allows, the code allows. That's what I'm. We're not asking you for something that.
Hold on, sir. The code allows you to ask for it. The code does not guarantee you will receive it.
That's true. I want to know why you're not, why you wouldn't grant it. I don't understand why you're holding on to this. I mean, I'm just going to be, human here. Why are you holding on to that so much? I mean, I'm telling you, we can't do it. We're human beings. We're trying to just make it. I'll make a donation to the Forest Conservation after we get this finished. If I put trees over there, it's going to take away a third of my lot that's left, a third of it. It's going to make it less valuable, less appealing. I've already been through all that with people. What else can I do, to compensate? I mean, like I said, we already have 1,000 trees around the property. There's deer all in the property. I mean, I just took this yesterday. There's deer we have like a forest all the way around the whole property. We have a pond. We're environmentally friendly. I care about the environment. I'm not trying to get over on you or anybody else. we're just trying to move on here. That's all we want to do. If we have to put an acre and a half of trees there, we can't do it. I mean, what else can I do? Can I make a contribution to the Forest Conservation? Can I do that?
After the lot's sold.
After the lot's sold, yeah. I mean, I'm not trying to get over on you. Please don't take it personal. I love trees.
Mr. Shaw, you've been through, I'm not taking it personal.
I know. yeah, I mean, we're just kind of like begging for us to just help us out so we can get this done. I mean, it's not going to hurt anything. I mean, we feel like we've overly compensated for the environment here. Our own lot, which is right next to it, our whole lot is full of trees. You know, we have trees all over the place here.
If I could address that, you know, we had this discussion numerous times, and the trees you have do not qualify as forest.
Okay, I'm just using that as
You know, planted in hedgerows and along property boundaries, so they do not qualify as a forest. And forest law is about forest. They're not replacing forest and planting forest. Both if you clear forest and if you do not have forest. There are two major tenets in the Forest Conservation Act. One is reforestation. Basically, if you clear forest, you must replace it. And the second one is if you do not have forest, you must plant forest. And I understand a lot of people have a difficulty with the afforestation part of it, but that is part of the State Forest Conservation Act and the County Forest Conservation Act, which we are, you know, designated to uphold.
I understand that. And that's why they have a variance for certain circumstances. And this is where I feel like we fall into that circumstance. I understand where you're coming from. I know you have to do your job. I understand that. So, you know, I don't have anything against you, Tom. I know you're just doing what you know. But there is a variance, and we're requesting the variance so we don't have to plant trees here. That's what we're requesting. So.
Understood, and that's why you're here today with your appeal.
Okay. This is, I mean, like I said, this is totally out of our comfort zone. This is stuff. Yeah, this is difficult for us. The whole thing's been stressful. Calling you every day was stressful.
Agreed.
We're just trying to move on. That's all we want to do.
All right, Mr. and Mrs. Shaw, do you have any further questions for Mr. Devilbiss?
No, sir, I don't.
Board members, do you have any questions for Mr. Devilbiss?
Yes, I would just like some clarification. So the 1.5 acres near the pond, is that to the northwest of the pond, or where exactly would that be?
It's,
Yeah, it is.
is it northwest? I don't know.
Do you want me to speak
It
to
is
this, Tom?
northwest.
Hold on 1 second, if you could. Can we have Mr. Bowman respond to that, please?
Okay, I got to get my charger.
Could you hold off on your question and let's finish Mr. Devilbiss's testimony, and then we'll come to Mr. Bowman.
I will defer to Mr. Bowman for the exact location, if you would, please.
We'll complete your testimony, and then we'll get to Mr. Bowman's testimony.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Are there any further questions for Mr. Devilbiss?
Just to be clear, so they could plant the 1.5 acres on the larger lot and not really even touch that 3.5 acre lot.
Correct.
Tom, do you, or Mr. Devilbiss, do you have a ballpark cost figure on approximately what the expenditure would be to plant that 1.5 acres at present?
I would like to defer to Bowman on that because he is one person in our office who does not only approves a lot of these plantings, but also from our perspective, when we have to do them on our project, he manages that. So he will have really good, accurate, up-to-date numbers for that. If you would wait to ask him that question.
It is 1.5 acres.
I don't know.
Mr. Devilbiss, what is the timeline for them completing, if they were to enforce the 1.5 acres, what is the timeline for them to complete that process? And would it have to be done before the subdivision?
Yes, and where they're at right now is they're in the final approval process. They would have to go through the legal package process with our folks here. That would require bonding of this planting, and then yes, they would be planting it in conjunction with the development of the property.
So Mr. Devilbus, just so we're all perfectly clear, where it stands right now, it's been compromised to the point where they would have to plant 1.5 acres to receive the variance as opposed to the 2.9, correct?
Actually, the variance has been granted at 1.5 acres. So my process is essentially complete. What they're doing is they're appealing my decision that of the 1.5 acres. So I am complete with my process at this point in time.
Anything else, Craig or Tiffany?
Could I ask one question to maybe clarify things? Mr. Devilbus, is it fair to say that there should have been like 2.9 or 2 point something acres of reforestation, and you granted a variance to 1.5 instead of what would have been required, the 2 point something?
That's correct.
Okay, counsel, call your next witness.
I would call Mr. Jonathan Bowman.
Yes, present.
Okay, so the board members just have a few questions for you.
Jim, there was some noise there. Can you repeat what you said?
Yes, the board members have some questions for Mr. Bowman. So the board, you can.
Hi, Mr. Bowman. Would you be able to tell us exactly where the 1.5 acres would be located on the parcel map?
Sure. So the staff report that was presented was authored by me, and that is what identified that 1.5 acres of possible planting area. That assessment was made through visual site visit to the area and also some desktop analysis using our GIS system. The location of the suitable planting area is essentially to the northeast of the pond. If you see on the plan, it's labeled as a forested water resource protection easement. So essentially that area sits just below the dam of the pond and runs over to the property line. That area, and if you wrap around then to the southeastern portion, essentially running the planting along that existing board fence, I use that as a boundary. The idea would be that you can accommodate about 1.5 acres within those two portions of the property.
Mr. Bowman, do you have a rough ballpark estimate on what current cost would be to the Shaws to plant 1.5 acres of forestation in that area?
Sure. To have a planting contractor plant that 1.5 acres would cost about $12,000. That would include preparation of the site, installation of material and tree shelters, and then maintenance of that area for 3 years.
Mr. Bowman, could you, I guess specifically say why, that area, why it would benefit that area to have afforestation there?
Sure. We always seek to establish forest on areas that are considered to have a special habitat value or be sensitive in one way or another. I think that's a good area because you have a little bit of adjacent area to the existing pond and stream. From that matter, you're gaining some nutrient absorption, some sediment control and protection from the trees, from sediment reaching those water resource areas. There's always the inputs of the organic matter, the leaves falling and things like that benefit in-stream aquatic organisms. The wildlife habitat value of having a forested condition is usually leaps and bounds above, just an open meadow, open field condition. All those are the type of reasons why we seek, especially stream side and even pond side areas for these types of plantings.
Any further questions by board members? All right, Mr. and Mrs. Shaw, do you have any questions for Mr. Bowman?
Mr. Shaw, you need to unmute your phone.
Sorry, Joe. I just wanted to ask Jonathan again to explain what does that benefit to have 1.5 acres trees over there on the other side of the pond? I mean, it's going to block, there's 2 neighbors over there. It's going to block their view to the pond. It just doesn't benefit anybody to do this. I mean, yes, some leaves will go into the ground. I don't understand all that, but there's trees everywhere over there. We're going to have plenty of leaves on the ground. Can you explain, what else it would benefit other than, leaves? Please.
Yeah, so I guess I'll just respond, Mr. Shaw, that the kind of the basic idea with afforestation is that essentially by building on a property to a certain extent, you have removed the opportunity from forest being established there in the future. So as such, when they set up the afforestation piece of the forest conservation law, they looked at that and they said, we believe that a certain percentage of development activity then, even if it doesn't clear trees, should help reforest, an area like Carroll County or the state of Maryland in general. So it's kind of the idea that everybody's contributing a little bit toward the overall maintenance of forest cover across the state, across the county. So even in your case where it seems like very little is being accomplished with an acre and a half being placed adjacent to the pond, you know, collectively, there's a big impact. Collectively, your project, many other projects, as you compile them together, you know, we've realized hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of acres of forest replacement across the county, and it's helped slow development-related forest loss. It hasn't curtailed it entirely, but it's helped slow it. And as you speak then to the benefits in general of having forest on the landscape, you know, it relates to some of the things I discussed in terms of nutrient uptake, sediment control, wildlife habitat, but it grows even larger in terms of looking at, you know, water quality in the bay, water quality in our local streams, air quality within the state, you know, just a myriad of environmental benefits, and ultimately, in some cases, environmental or economic benefits, as you know, some industries rely on forest areas.
So we're putting an acre and a half of trees in front of a Carroll County family, essentially. That's what we're doing here. It's more important for you to have these acre and a half of trees than to, I mean, there's a variance for this. It's not like I'm asking for any favors, something out of the ordinary, something that shouldn't be asked for. It's a variance. We strongly feel that we qualify for this variance. Like I said, I'm not trying to get over on anybody. I feel like we have compensated. I mean, like I said, I just took this yesterday. We have lots of trees. This is right on the property. Lots of trees all around the whole property. To put an acre and a half over there is going to cause serious hardship. I don't feel like it benefits anybody. We're not a developer. We're not a builder. It's a one-time thing. It just doesn't make any sense to me. It just really, really doesn't make any sense to me. These deer come back every single night. We have lots of wildlife down there. I don't know. I mean, it's tough for me to be against all, you know, to state my case in front of somebody, you know, all these people. It's difficult. So I'm a little bit tongue-tied here a little bit, but I feel really strongly that, please, we really do need this variance so we can move on. I mean, it's not going to benefit anybody to put an acre and a half over there. People love that pond over there. It's going to block the pond.
Okay, we're at the questioning stage of the hearing. So do you have any further questions for Mr. Bowman?
No. Well, I guess I want to ask him, Jonathan, do you feel that our situation, that to put an acre and a half of trees there is more important than our situation? I mean, it is to you, is this acre and a half really that important? Because we do have a legal variance that, you know, that we qualify for. Do you feel like
Well, Mr. Shaw, I guess I'd respond that, you know, when I wrote the staff report related to your second variance request, you know, my staff recommendation was actually denial of the variance entirely, of your request entirely. So I think, you know, Mr. Devilbus has gone a step towards you in terms of compromise, considering that he said, well, I'll consider a variance with an acre and a half of mitigation being provided.
So an acre and a half,
in a better situation.
So, well, it did, but it really didn't. I mean, if you can do an acre and a half, why not just give me a variance for the whole thing? I mean, I don't know what else. What was the reason? like I was shocked, you know, you were working with me to write this variance up. We met with Tom, you, me, and my wife, and Tom all met. And Tom asked you to please help us write the variance up and submit it to him. Well, we're in the process, you and I were writing back and forth, you know, you say, you know, you need to put this in there, you need to put that in there. So, you know, we're working with you to write this variance up, and then all of a sudden, I see that you've already sent off a letter to Tom saying, deny it. I don't know why you would, you know, what's the reason why you did that? I was shocked. I mean, I thought we were working together to get this done. And then all of a sudden, you know, you shot off a letter to Tom saying, deny it. And I don't know why. Why would you do that?
Well, just to clarify, you know, when we met early on, so I'm, as forest conservation specialist, my role is always to kind of, you know, explain to the public and have them understand, or do my best to explain to the public, including yourselves, how the ordinance and processes within the ordinance work. So my role was really to try to, you know, at the point that you guys expressed an interest in making a variance request, you know, my role was to ensure that that variance request got submitted properly and in the right format. So we had a lot of discussions about that. My role was never, and you know, never expressed that you know, I'm not your advocate essentially. So at the point that you guys did submit a variance request, you know, my role was not to advocate for you. It was simply to ensure that we had a proper submission and it went through, you know, to Tom for ultimate denial or approval.
Yeah. Is there a law that says you can't be an advocate to help, you know, the public? Not help, but assist, you know, and be an advocate. I mean, why wouldn't you not be an advocate? I mean, if I had a good enough reason showing that, you know, we should get this variance, why, you know, why not advocate for us? Many other people from the county have done that. I mean, you know, Clay Black, I mean, Clay Black was awesome. Helped us any way he could. I don't know why we're having so much problems here. I don't understand it. I mean, we can't move on without this variance. It's just, it's an acre and a half of trees. I will make some kind of contribution after we get this sold. That's pretty much all I got to say.
All right, presentation. Well, the exhibits that have been shown on the screen, the board will accept in the evidence, the various letters and reports. That's going to be accepted in the evidence. Presentation of testimony and evidence is now closed and summations are in order. Mr. and Mrs. Shaw, you can make a summation to the board, and then it'll be the Council for Land and Resource Management opportunity to make a closing argument.
Okay. All right. Again, Tom, thank you for working with us. I feel like you wanted to work with us. I feel like you, if it was up to you, I feel like if we would have came to you first, I think that you would have probably granted the variance. That's the way I feel. I think that Jonathan felt like he was doing his job, which is, he probably was. But you're throwing me off here. Well, I don't know. I appreciate what you have done, Tom. I know that this hasn't been easy for you either. I just hope that we can look at this and say an acre and a half of trees in this circumstance can't be that important, especially all the trees we have on this property. The pond, you know, we're very environmentally friendly on this property, and I feel that that totally compensates for this other acre and a half of trees. And I hope that the board can understand that. You want to say anything?
Thank you.
You want to say anything?
Thanks.
You want to say anything?
You said everything.
Okay.
All right, Land and Resource Management, do you wish to make a closing statement to the board?
I do. Mr. Chairman and members of the board, you've heard testimony from the Shaws about their financial hardship and that if strict adherence to 150.27A of the code was followed, they would experience that hardship. However, in their first variance, the Shaws requested, they offered no afforestation. In their second variance request, the Shaws requested 1 acre or 7% afforestation from the required 20% threshold in the county code. And while this is much greater than the previous request of no afforestation, the county is bound by state and local laws. The county staff report, finds that 1.5 acres of afforestation can be planted on lot 2 without encroaching into the fenced pasture area and would not encumber lot 1 and would leave 6 acres open. Mr. Doublevis testified that he has granted the variance on the condition that it's 1.5 acres of on-site afforestation rather than the Shaws requested 1 acre. Mr. Doublevis also testified that he took into consideration the Shaws' financial hardships, which is evidenced not only by his willing to work with the Shaws to grant the 1.5 acres of afforestation rather than the 2.9 acres, which if the code strictly adhered to, it would have to be followed, but also that the variance is non-transferable and applying specifically to the Shaws' situation. State and local laws require afforestation. Afforestation is a priority in Carroll County, and ensuring that sensitive areas are protected is a primary objective for county staff, and county staff is bound by state and local law. For these reasons, we respectfully assert that the opinion of the director in granting the second amended variance be upheld, and I just want to thank the chairman and all the members of the board for your time today.
Am I allowed to respond?
No, the hearing and record of this case is now closed. In accordance with the Open Meetings Act of Maryland, the board will now consider the case.
Okay.
Board members, you can now deliver.
Mr. Dixon, should we, the three board members, should we comment now, or should we, we're ready to proceed with the vote? Should we go in that route?
Yes, you should comment, talk about the case, what findings of fact that you find persuasive, and then you can decide on the case.
Craig, your
You want
mic's
to go
on.
first, Frank, or?
Your mic was on there first, so I'll
Okay.
defer to you.
Okay. Yeah, I think some of the things that struck me here is that the Shaws filed that second request, or the request for the variance at 7%. And at that point, they were intended to accept that if it was granted. So I think they were willing to spend that money at that point, to meet that requirement. And now to go back and say that they want 0%, strikes me as problematic. I also think the comments that planting those trees will benefit no one is incorrect, because I think planting those trees really benefits everyone and community in general. I think there are some other options perhaps available to them with subdividing and perhaps in the sale of a lot, maybe make it contingent that trees are planted and such. I desperately feel for the financial hardship, though. I'm not sure where we place a figure on how to determine how much of a hardship that is. You know, that's where a quantitative number is hard to come up with.
Okay, I'll go next there. Kind of agree with what Craig said. Mr. and Mrs. Shaw, I definitely can understand and sympathize with your hardship in the matter. I certainly think county staff definitely think they definitely feel the same way. Few things I have about the matter. I do believe the county has tried to work with you as much as they can. Basically cutting the number of acres of trees that definitely need to be planted. So they have granted a good bit of a variance there, in my opinion. Unfortunately, the afforestation measure here, as Mr. Devilbiss said, unfortunately is county and state law. My opinion is, I think it's a dangerous example to set to not comply with county and state law. They have granted you, like I say, a decent sized variance here. And, you know, I think it's tough to grant a whole lot more than that. You know, pains my heart to, you know, say that, but unfortunately, as Mr. Bowman said as well, I do think the trees, I looked it up on the map there, would be a good thing for the environment, and also I think for the value of the lot as a whole going further. So like Mr. Paskowski said, you know, maybe this may open up some other avenues with what you can do with a lot in the future there. You know, and it may end up being advantageous to you in the long run.
Okay. It's a very difficult decision, obviously. I do agree that the placement of the trees on, you know, the property is probably beneficial. Just thinking about how surface water would run off, you know, in that general direction to help mitigate any nutrients running off of the property and, you know, benefiting the health and quality of the stream. So I do agree that, you know, the trees wouldn't be planted for, you know, just to plant trees. But I am, you know, sympathetic to your financial situation. And, you know, the variance, you know, does state that, you know, if you can't meet this criteria, you know, due to undue hardship, financial hardship, a variance could be granted. However, you know, it's a variance to that 20%. I do agree that, you know, the county has tried to offer a compromise with the 1.5 acres of trees, and that would be a beneficial, you know, item to add to the property.
So I guess at this time, Craig and Tiffany, if you're ready to vote on this matter, I'll entertain a motion to vote.
Yeah, I will make a motion that we deny the Shaw's request for a variance.
Mr. Dixon, is that suitable
Do you need me to say more to it, or?
motion there?
It
Yes,
needs to be seconded.
I'll second that.
Okay, Craig, Tiffany, and myself, if you're in favor, raise your hand or say aye. Aye.
Aye.
All right, now just so we're clear about the decision, does that mean motion that we deny the application that it goes back to what Mr. Devilbus said at the 1.5 acres? Or that's part of what you are stating here?
That would be my understanding.
Yes, I agree. That's what my understanding as the motion and the vote would be. That it's with Mr. Devilbus's 1.5 acres.
Yes, I also agree to that.
Okay, very well, I understand. All right, this oral decision of the board will become final upon a written decision, which will be issued within 30 days. That concludes the hearing.
Thank you.
Thank you, board members.